What an incredible weekend it has been so far. I wrote this earlier. The only thing wrong with it for me is personally is that I'm likely the only one in the room who hasn't had a beer yet, but actually I snuck out and got one. I've been a sports fan basically since I came out of the womb. I don't recall what I had for dinner last night, but I remember Super Bowl III. I remember the Miracle Mets in '69. And I'm a Bills fan, but the Bills were horrible then. Like it was yesterday. Football was and always has been my greatest passion. I've loved the Bills since I was 5 years old. For 55 years, even when they did not love me back. And I love playing football even more. All I ever wanted to be was Bobby Chandler, the great Bills receiver from the mid-'70s. Any of you old folks remember Bobby? I always wore number 81. I always wanted to be him. The game was tactical, strategic, and more than anything, physical. That's what I loved mostly about it. And then I watched a rugby game in person at St. Bonaventure for the first time. You people are out of your mind. I don't know how there's not an ambulance on the field at least once every half. It's unbelievable. But I do love this game so much, and I've come to love it. Even if it will take me till I'm 90 to understand all the rules and strategy. I've got the ball must go backwards. Knock-ons are a turnover. Get the ball to the middle of the try zone to make the conversion easier. Kicking the ball out of bounds on a free kick allows you to advance the ball upfield, which frankly is a stupid rule. I don't understand it. DeFazio agrees with me totally. Everything else I have no clue about, but I don't feel that bad. I was watching a game last year on the pitch out here and said something to the effect, I'm not sure I'll ever understand this game fully and all the rules. And the guy overheard me and he said, me neither. I said, are you just a parent or a fan? He goes, no, I played here. And he still didn't understand the rules. But I do love this game, and it's crazy how wrapped up I can get in the game, almost like watching the Bills. The two national title games, the men in 2021, the women in 2023. I'm covering the games which were played in Houston on my laptop from my living room, and both endings were just nail-biters. The men just trying to hang on to a one-point lead versus Penn State, and the women are picking and popping the last 2 or 3 minutes of that game, hoping to, and I'm sitting there cursing at my laptop screen, come on, ref, blow the whistle, because I'm never clear when the game actually ends. And my heart's racing, and my wife comes downstairs, she goes, are you having a stroke? And she's like, are you watching a Bills game? No, I'm watching a rugby game on my laptop. It's amazing the game you play, or played in most cases, and I love it. And I love about it here, more than anything, is the incredible camaraderie I see from these teams and the affection that you have for each other. It has been an incredible thing to witness all of these years. And now, before we dig in, Father Steve Keen will offer our invocation. Father Steve.
Thanks, Tom. So let us pray. Good and gracious God, we thank you for the many good gifts of this day. And especially today, we give thanks for the 50 years of scrums, tries, tackles, mauls, and all the many rugby memories that have been made right here on this campus. May we be humbly blessed with many, many more. We ask that you bless all of our Hall of Fame inductees this evening. We give thanks for the countless ways that they have blessed and strengthened our university community. May they know of our gratitude and our and your deep love for them. We fondly remember our dear rugby brother, Rob Peraza, and all those lost their lives some 24 years ago on 9/11. May they be held tenderly in the palm of your loving hand. Finally, dear Lord, we ask you to bless us gathered this evening. May there be plenty of good cheer, good laughter, and fond memories. We ask you to bless the hands that prepared the food that we are about to receive and help us to remember those who go without this evening. Bless Bona Rugby, go Bonas. Amen.
I know all the honorees especially and their families are waiting for the induction ceremony, but before we get to that, I'd like to invite a couple speakers. First of all, our president, Dr. Jeff Gingrich.
Thanks, Tom, and welcome, everyone. We've been looking forward to this weekend for quite a long time. I actually remember about a year ago, we realized this is a big anniversary coming up. Rugby's big. we got to make this a really great weekend. And it sounds like it's been a wonderful weekend so far. We really appreciate y'all coming out for this. This remarkable tournament we've had this weekend for this 50th anniversary celebration of rugby at Bonas speaks to what I've known from the moment I arrived at St. Bonaventure 3 years ago, that rugby matters so much here. I have to be honest with you, when we first were playing, Betsy and I were first planning on coming here, we were like, okay, we can't wait for basketball. Basketball is the big thing. And it didn't take long, like Tom was saying, like one game out there for these crazy rugby players, and we were hooked. And now we know that rugby is right up there, and it's such an important part, not only of our current situation right now, where we are, but it's a huge part of our future at St. Bonaventure. And so we're so looking forward to the next years, and we know that some of the most passionate alumni that we have are in this room right now. Rugby matters deeply to us, to this university, in so many ways. You might have seen last week that we made a little announcement that we just topped 3,000 students for the first time in school history. That's more students than we've ever had at St. Bonaventure, and that's a pretty cool thing. And the rugby program is one of the reasons why that happened. And in his role as university trustee several years ago, a guy that many of you know, Jim Canty, convinced us that we could elevate our rugby program to national prominence. And so we're so grateful to Jim. And so we're also grateful to Jim's wife, Kristen, for being here tonight, their children, Charlie and Caitlin, and Charlie's fiance, Michaela, and his brothers, Jim's brothers, Jack and Tim, for joining us tonight. And so please join me in thanking them. My understanding is, and there are some stories about this, that when Jim started talking about rugby and that we could actually really take this to a new level, some of his colleagues on the board kind of looked at him sideways. Because Jim believed it was possible, because he believed in the passion that you all had for rugby. And so what has Jim's belief done for us? We now have more than 100 rugby athletes on this campus, a significant... Yeah, we could not be over 3,000 without rugby. This is a significant reason why it's so high. And with the meteoric rise of our women's program under Meredith's leadership the last 3 years, more than 90% of all of our rugby athletes played rugby as high schoolers and are here because of rugby. Pretty big. When Meredith started as our women's coach 3 years ago, she had 9 returning players and had to scour the campus to fill out her roster with walk-ons who had never played before. I think she went door to door and just was looking for some women to play. Only 3 of those 9 players had played rugby in high school. This season, she has 23 players on her roster who played with high school rugby club. That's what success on a national stage in an institutional commitment to rugby can mean to recruiting. And so we're so glad that that program has taken off in new directions. And I apologize because this arm feels a little heavy because I'm wearing the women's national rugby ring here. So it probably shines a little bit there. Our rugby program, especially on the men's side, has also had a terrific international flavor to our campus community, including our outstanding coach from Yorkshire, England, Danny Neighbor. Where'd Danny go? There's Danny over there, yeah. We have 21 students hailing from 9 different countries on our men's team: South Africa, Germany, England, New Zealand, Scotland, France, Chile, Ireland, Zimbabwe. And for the first time, Meredith has landed an international recruit, a freshman from Ontario, Canada. Maybe most important, we give it to all of you. We couldn't have done it without you. You've emptied both your hearts and you've contributed your wallets for two of your fallen alumni that have helped us to get to this point, and we remember them tonight. More than $127,000 has been awarded to 18 rugby students from the Matt Dugan Scholarship Fund, thanks largely to the tireless work of his teammate, Sam Giordano, who I believe is right over here. Sam, thank you. Sam organizes annual memorial golf tournament in Matt's name, and that's been so important for us in our recruiting. And what you have all done to keep alive the memory of Rob Peraza, who was taken from us 24 years ago on 9/11, is simply remarkable. 2 scholarships in Rob's name, the Peraza Annual Scholarship and the Peraza Endowed Scholarship, have resulted in more than $460,000 being awarded to 73 rugby students at SBU. That's incredible. We're so glad that Rob's brother Neil and his sister Joan Burton could be with us tonight. And I think Neil and Joan are right here. Thanks for being with us tonight. So this rugby program has been so instrumental to the success of St. Bonaventure, not only as a hallmark of our rich athletic tradition, but as an invaluable asset in our growing portfolio that makes this place a place that students want to come to. And there are very few programs across the country. We have students who want to come here from across the country and around the world. Congratulations. I look forward to greeting all of tonight's Hall of Fame inductees. The honor being bestowed upon you is so richly deserved. Thank you all for being here tonight, and go Bonnies.
Thank you, Dr. Gingrich. Next up is Rob DeFazio, but sit down, Rob. Where's Gingrich? This is your fault. We were talking yesterday after a debriefing meeting after a rough week, and he goes, "You know what? I don't understand it. I cry at every time I speak. I don't get it. I don't get where it comes from." You know, there's a lot of reasons. Rob, Matt Duncan, why this weekend is here. This weekend has always been here, but that Hall of Fame wasn't here, and that guy got this Hall of Fame here. And he could not have done it without the support of his boss, Katie O'Brien, either. It's amazing. I was just stunned by, I heard about it and on the wall in the Riley Center in that concourse, and it's just an amazing thing. So, without further ado, Rob, I know you hate me now, but Rob DeFazio.
Thank you, Tom. What a day, what a turnout. This is awesome. Awesome. Danny, why don't you come on down? "50 years of rugby at St. Bonaventure University. What a special night this is, and especially because of the commitment you all have made to each other on and off the pitch, to St. Bonaventure Rugby and St. Bonaventure University. Bear with me as I'm going to try to cover 50 years as quickly as possible. I'm not sure if I'm bald because I've been married and raised 3 kids or because I've overseen rugby for the last 25 years. Regardless, I'm proud of everybody's accomplishments. Let me start with some recognitions and thank yous. Congratulations to our inaugural class going into our newly constructed Hall of Fame. Thank you to our selection committee who did not have an easy task. Their names are in your programs. Thank you to our event staff and Aramark for the work they put into the socials and the dinner tonight. Special thank you to Janet Glagowski for not only assisting with all this, but her work. With her work over the last few decades assisting with the Peraza Golf Outing. To Tom Missel, our Chief Communications Officer at SBU, who has become the Rugby Sports Information Director. Our teams would not have the exposure they do if it wasn't for Tom. He knew nothing about rugby. As he said earlier, we're still trying to learn rugby, but if you read the write-ups after, you would have no idea. Tom does an amazing, amazing job. To Katie O'Brien, our Vice President for Student Affairs, for her constant creativity and support for our players, coaches, and the program. To Margot Hickey, our Associate Director for Intramural Recreation Club Sports. Margot is my right-hand person who handles the logistics and the behind-the-scenes for our teams. Yeah, Margot. Thank you to Dr. Gingrich for being here tonight and for his unwavering support of our program, the go-ahead to construct the Rugby Hall of Fame, and his commitment to National Championship Rugby program. Also in attendance tonight are our current coaching staffs and team leaders for our men and women. I ask that you all stand at this time as they proudly represent all of you in St. Bonaventure University at a very high standard. Please rise. How about those wins today? Yes. Although he cannot be here tonight, Tui sends his congratulations to our inductees and to everyone for 50 years. He wished he could be here, but wanted to pass on how much it meant for him to be part of our program. Before I get too deep into this, I want to pause for a second as we display the names of our alumni that have passed away. I ask for a moment of silent prayer as we remember them and pray for their families. Which one? Oh, no. May they rest in peace and forever be in our hearts and minds, remembered as your rugby brothers and true men of St. Bonaventure. While 11 names are going up on the wall, you have all played a significant part in the history of rugby at SBU, from the outlaws and legends to becoming Bonnies. Where would we be if it wasn't for a Frank Dooley or a Nick Benvenuto or Kate Shea Kenyon in the early days of men, and then a few years later, the start of a women's rugby program. Fast forward a bit to the spring of 1986, where undergraduates Tim Sweeney and Jim Mecca, who had the idea of inviting recent alumni back for a friendly game on the pitch. While the alumni do not play the undergrads anymore, an alumni versus alumni game continues to take place just as recently as yesterday. You can tell by those in the room that are limping around. Alumni such as Alex Nasmus, who played in the inaugural game, kept the tradition alive as he worked in admissions at SBU and became the advisor to the rugby program and organized Rugby Alumni Weekend for well over a decade. While his house became home base and his wallet, I'm sure, got a lot lighter, his commitment should not go unrecognized. There are alumni such as Bob Sims who would call me and ask, what does the team need? Next thing you know, a new kid arrives or grass seed and fertilizer for the field. His commitment is as strong now as it ever was. No alumni event could take place without the presence of Fitzy or road warrior Pat Doyle, who makes every effort to attend home and road games. Oh, yep. Alumni such as Tim White and Tom Wren, who continue to keep touch with our program. Where's Tom? Is Tom here? Where's Tom? Happy birthday, Tom. Happy birthday. Or Paul Fortiani. If we ever needed a ref for the alumni game, Paul stepped up. Silent but crucial supporters like Kevin Patwell, thank you for saving the Burton. Or Jared Whalen, who consistently supports the program. Enter into the next decade, and players turned alumni, such as Bruce Snyder, revived the women's program and is being recognized accordingly today. Freestyle for his enthusiasm and deep love for our program. And his wife Paula for the work she did building the women's program back up and for always trying to wrangle in freestyle. Also, our inductees will receive a patch today, and I want everybody to know that was Bruce's idea. So, Bruce, thank you. How about the leadership of Nicole Dyleg? And I'll be remiss if I did not recognize Coach Tracy Schrems, who spent 14 years on the sideline and is with us tonight. Coach Schrems not only took our women to championships, she took them to Disney. A Pat Harnish, who was pissed at the level of our program was at and organized practices in 2 feet of snow in the winter months, vowing that we would never have a losing season again. The message was clear and success followed. Talk about some tough teams and tough players in that era. I can still remember some of the collisions watching those guys play. Bob Evans' shoulder, I think, is still stinging, but he stopped to try inches from the line. Hey, Bobby. Guys like Giordano, Broussard, Nogue, Dice, Garbin, among those that left it all on the pitch. I can remember like it was yesterday, Alex Chura breaking away from the Notre Dame player to secure victory in our first collegiate rugby championships. I don't know if they still sell them, but you maybe remember the old teacher that says, or a t-shirt that read, God loves the University of Notre Dame, but he loves St. Bonaventure more. To continue, players like Emily Sion and Kelly DeGrood bringing prominence back to the women's program, helping launch where we are today. To players such as Carly Doyle and Mike Wise, well-deserving Hall of Fame inductees that beat cancer with the same perseverance, fight, resiliency, and commitment that they showed on the field. Yes. Winners in every way. How about Coach Alan Siliker, who not only coached the team but refereed their games to make sure that the games would take place? I look across the room and I see countless alumni who either were married by or had their children baptized by Father Richard Flaherty, known as Padre. You can count me among that list. We have others such as Dan Picciollo and the Black Dog, who has served as our sponsor for years. Allowing us to support our players in ways we may not have been able to. 2 of our inductees are no longer with us, but their presence and dedication are major reasons why SBU Rugby is where we are today. Rob Peraza for his playing ability, his leadership, and his love the teammates have showed in his passing by creating scholarships in his name and the impact it has made. You saw that yesterday at the prayer service. Jim Canty, who took a ride with me and BK to what was Wheeling Jesuit to see how their program was run. we knew we could do it better, and we have. As Dr. Gingrich stated, Jim was a board member, and he was instrumental in convincing President Sister Margaret and the President's Cabinet that SBU should invest in varsity rugby. He financially invested in the program himself. I could go on, as you are all part of why we are here today. I do want to recognize an individual that has made it a life mission to make sure our rugby programs are getting university support and national recognition, while also putting his own time, money, and effort into recruiting and supporting our programs. He has single-handedly recruited countless students to boost university enrollment. And once in a while, he even gives the coaches tips. BK, I can't thank you enough for pushing us to be what you dreamed SBU Rugby could be. In 2021, our men reached the national championship game. In a matter of 3 days, over $34,000 was raised to send them to Houston. When we did a call out to build a turf field, no alumni base had a higher number of donors give than the rugby donors. Well, yes. While the total amount may have not been the highest, a clear message was sent that our alumni were committed to the best interests of our program and St. Bonaventure University. Soon, we will need to replace that turf field, and to be honest, we need a second field. We need our own. But we're going to rely on over 700 men and women alumni to help us make that happen. We're going to need your help. As you all know, we won the national championship over Big Ten school Penn State, and it did not take long for our women to win the NESCRO national championship just 2 years later, which propelled them to now the highest level of club rugby for the women in the country. Both championship trophies are proudly placed in the trophy case in the SBU Rugby Hall of Fame. Some ask, what is in the water at St. Bonaventure? I would always ask, I would always ask, what is in the rugby water? You know, the empty milk gallons filled with water. Whether a player broke their leg, it was get them some water. Out came the jug. A concussion, get them some water. Throwing up from exhaustion, get them some water. Out came the jug. Thank God we have athletic trainers today. But the question remains a mystery to those that did not go here. What is in the water at St. Bonaventure? Unfortunately for them, since they did not go here, we can't explain it because we live it. Over the years, the focus was on winning the league, then it was state and regionals. Our expectations are clear. We strive to compete for national championships every year in the fall and sevens in the spring. Team success has brought individual recognition. Not only do we have players drafted in Major League Rugby, Ricky Rose was the #1 pick. Times have changed, whether it be old traditions that no longer exist, t-shirt slogans such as, a drinking team with a rugby problem, certain songs of years gone by, and you can all feel the shift in the culture. What hasn't changed is the passion and pride you all carry as proud members of St. Bonaventure Rugby and St. Bonaventure University. Enjoy the rest of the program and your time this weekend. It has been a true pleasure watching everyone reconnect again. I'll now turn it back over to Tom Missel.
I don't feel so bad. DeFazio choked up too. A couple notes before we begin the ceremony. There will be, at the very end, when we're done with number 11, at the very end, there'll be a group photo in front of the banner, correct, Rob? Of all the honorees. We'd like one representative from the families whose inductees have passed, one member to come up to join that photo. During this ceremony, because your name will pop up or your picture will pop up on the screen here in a second. Stay seated. As soon as I'm done, please come up for a photo with Dr. Gingrich and Rob, and then we'll proceed. With that, let's begin. If not for our first two inductees tonight, I think it's fair we might not be sitting here tonight. I think we all know who I'm talking about. First, Rob Peraza, class of 1994 and 1996. I'm not done. Yeah, okay. Well, I'll do it now. One more. No, stay, Joan. Yeah. Okay, clearly everybody wants to get back to the bar because I actually had stuff to say about Rob before he got up. You guys, you can return to your seats. Okay. Yeah, thanks. Author Roy Bennett, and I'm still on Rob. Author Roy Bennett once said, "Learn to light a candle in the darkest moments of someone's life." The truth is, what so many of you have done to keep alive the memory of Rob is more than a candle. It's an Olympic torch that has fueled the soul of this program for nearly 25 years. Through events like this alumni weekend and the golf tournaments in his honor that have helped raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for scholarships in Rob's name. More important, as we heard yesterday from his brother Neil at the 9/11 ceremony, your efforts to keep Rob's spirit alive have been, for his family especially, a light that will always burn brightly, that will always keep him present in their hearts and minds. I was incredibly touched, Neil, when you said yesterday that you always refer to Rob. I'm 0 for 2. In the present tense, my brother passed away young too. young too, and I just thought of that. To ensure that he always stays at the front of your mind. In that spirit, I'm sure he is watching this ceremony right now with immense pride, and from what I've heard of Rob, also with a great sense of humility. And I know he is incredibly proud to have witnessed the remarkable ascension of these two programs to national prominence. Rob Peraza, captain, MVP, and beloved teammate, your name will forever inspire performance on the pitch at the highest level. It's only fitting that the first inductee into our new St. Bonaventure Rugby Hall of Fame is Rob Peraza. Okay, to be clear, stay seated till I'm done. I will say here to accept, and that's your key to get up and come over. Our second inductee is Jim Canty, class of 1984. Jim's contributions on the pitch during his playing days were many, but it was his postgraduate advocacy and significant financial support, both in the program's early days and in its rise to national prominence the last 10 years, that have left an indelible imprint on St. Bonaventure Rugby. As a trustee, as you heard earlier, Jim convinced SBU administrators and his colleagues on the board that rugby had the potential to aspire to national greatness, and he backed his words with his wallet. And I remember I was here at that time, and he wasn't kidding. There was people looking sideways at him, and he kept pounding, and Sister Margaret ultimately believed in him. Sadly, as we all know, Jim passed away from a brain tumor 8 years ago, far too young at 54 years old before he was able to see his vision. Oh, thank you, Rob. Before he was able to see his vision for this program fully realized with not one but 2 national championships in the last 4 years. But if we hold dear to the belief that Rob had a front row seat in heaven watching those 2 teams hold on in Houston to claim their national titles, you have to believe Jim was sitting right next to him. Here to accept Jim's Hall of Fame plaque are his wife, Kristen, children Charlie, Caitlin, Charlie's fiance, Michaela, and his brothers, Tim and Jack. One more solo. And just to be clear, after the group photo at the very end, everybody, families, whatever, are welcome to come up and use the photo backdrop for informal photos. Our next inductee is Father Richard Flaherty, OFM. Padre, as those who loved him always called him. Father Rich was the spiritual soul. Keep nudging me, Rob, if I forget. He was the spiritual soul of Bonaventure Rugby for years, their beloved team chaplain who mentored student athletes with wisdom, humility, and Franciscan compassion. Ordained in 1982, Father Rich guided generations of ruggers both on and off the field, officiated player weddings, became a lifelong spiritual presence for so many alumni of the program. Father Rich served at St. Bonaventure from 1983 to 2003, working in campus ministries and as a chaplain for many of the Bonnies athletic teams. Father Rich is at St. Anthony Shrine in Boston, but making the trip here tonight would have been a challenge for him. So here to accept his Hall of Fame plaque are two former Bonner Ruggers and his longtime friends of Father Rich, Alex Nasmetz and Joe Rossone. One more. Straight ahead. Look at the big camera. Ignore the cell phones. Our next inductee is Bobby Sims, class of 1983. During his playing days at Bonaventure, Bobby served as team president, was the leading scorer, was an A-side player for all 4 years at Bonas. The creator of the SBU Rugby crest and black and gold kits, Bobby later became a linchpin for alumni relations with former Ruggers. Bobby supported the club financially, helped recruit players, and was instrumental in alumni engagement, fundraising, and keeping the team's Cleveland player pipeline flowing. Among the several people who nominated Bobby for this honor, one wrote, quote, St. Bonaventure and the rugby club have shaped his life positively as a man of faith, and Bobby has returned that love tenfold to the undergraduates and alumni over these past 5 decades. I simply can't think of Bonaventure Rugby without thinking first about Bobby Sims. Please join me in congratulating from the class of '83, Bobby Sims. Mark Fitzgerald, class of 1981. Mark was the team president and 2-year co-captain who guided St. Bonaventure Rugby to a winning tradition in its formative years, recruiting and training new players, upgrading the club schedule, even organizing a trip to Texas to take part in a quality tournament. As one nominator said, Fitzy left the program far better than he found it. Mark is a passionate alumnus who played into his 40s and coached at Rochester's McQuaid Jesuit High School, steering kids toward the Bonaventure Rugby program for several years. He has served as a mentor and recruiter for the Bonaventure program for decades. Another nominator said, quote, Mark embodied the spirit and character of the game. His play on the field was always very tough, and his actions and treatment of his teammates and opponents after the game always represented the best he had to offer. Please join me in congratulating, from the class of 1981, Mark Fitzy Fitzgerald. Bruce Snyder, class of 1998 and 1999. It's probably fair to say that if it weren't for Bruce, this anniversary celebration might only be for the men's program. A force both offensively and defensively on the men's state championship team in 1998, Bruce was instrumental in reviving the women's rugby program at Bonaventure. Bruce recruited players from campus who had never played the game. One of his players said, he put in so much time and energy patiently teaching us every rule and strategy and pushed us to be our best, working us hard at practices day in and day out. We could have never done it without Bruce's dedication and commitment to our team. More importantly, Bruce's love of the sport created an unbelievable camaraderie, forging lifelong bonds with our teammates. After graduation, Bruce played for almost 2 decades with high-level clubs in Charlotte and Chicago, and also coached the Chicago Lions Women's Club. Without his foundational efforts resurrecting our women's program, it would not be thriving as it is today. In fact, the program might not even exist. Please join me in congratulating, from the class of 98 and 99, Bruce Snyder. I'm old. I've almost been here 25 years, and we're finally getting to people I actually saw play. So I don't know what that means about the rest of you. We're just honored. Carly Doyle, class of 2016. Dr. Gingrich mentioned earlier in his remarks that Meredith now has 23 players with high school experience on her roster. When Carly Doyle came to Bonaventure 14 years ago, she was the first player in women's team history to have played in high school. The program's first unofficial recruit, Carly was a catalyst for change, bringing knowledge of the game to her teammates and changing the way the team played. A natural leader during her time at SBU, Carly remained dedicated to the sport even after graduation. A captain, recruiter, and coach, she led the team to success at the state level and continued promoting rugby after graduation, despite a courageous post-college battle with leukemia. The team president at the time, who convinced Carly that Bonaventure was the place to be, said of Carly, quote, "The strength and heart Carly showed on the field is the same strength and heart she has used to fight for her life." Please join me in congratulating, from the class of 2016, Carly Doyle. Emily Sion, class of 2020. One of the most dynamic players in the history of the program, Emily was a 3-time National Small College Rugby Association All-American, and at the time of her graduation, the program's scoring record holder with 87 career tries. She played twice for the Nescro 7 select sides in June 2019 outside Philly and in February 2020 in Los Angeles. A magna cum laude political science graduate, Emily inspired her teammates with both intellect and athleticism, and her tenacity and leadership helped elevate SBU women's rugby to national relevance. A nominator said, "The team grew around Emily, and her tenacity helped her teammates realize their own potential. Her legacy surely inspired the next generation of Bonnie's rugby players." Please join me in congratulating from the class of 2020, Emily Sion. And I have to say, when I was putting this PowerPoint together last night, of all the pictures in this PowerPoint presentation, the one of her in the mud with a thumbs up is by far my favorite. Probably why rugby should always be played in the mud, not just grass, but played in the mud. Mike Wise, class of 98 and 99. A 2-time state champion who scored 4 tries in a single match while battling Hodgkin's disease. Mike's grit and courage inspired his Bonaventure teammates to reach heights on the field they did not believe possible. More than 25 years after graduation, Mike continues to be a staunch supporter of the program, serving as a donor to the rugby scholarship funds and to the program directly. He's also been a valued mentor and advocate for St. Bonaventure student athletes, providing internships at his firm and advice whenever it's sought. Mike, one nominator said, is probably the only person who can say he beat cancer and led his team to back-to-back state championships at the same time. Please join me in congratulating from the class of 98-99, Mike Wise. And that's my second favorite picture, again, because there's a lot of mud. That's a great photo. Billy Kelly, class of 1995. Rob clearly spoke glowingly about Billy earlier. A captain and standout player on the state champion team, Billy's post-graduation leadership and philanthropy has helped transform St. Bonaventure to a nationally competitive rugby program. Billy was the founder of the Rugby Alumni Association, been a key fundraiser and recruiter, has been a tireless advocate for the scholarship named in honor of his good friend, Rob Peraza. Described by more than one person as the face of Bonaventure Rugby and the chief steward of the program, Billy has spent his life dedicated to Bonaventure Rugby, helping it to grow from Division III level to the national power it is today. Billy has helped the program expand its recruiting footprint internationally and helped professionalize the program as much as anyone. One of his many nominators said, "Billy lives and breathes Bona Rugby. The Hall of Fame would not be complete without his name on that wall." Please join me in congratulating from the class of 95, Billy Kelly. What time is it? 7:58. We got the bar doesn't close till 8:45. Last nominee, Dr. Alan Siliker. Without Alan's selfless dedication and knowledge of the game, rare at that time in the mid-1970s. Rugby may not have survived at St. Bonaventure. A longtime counseling professor in the School of Education, Alan taught generations the fundamentals and even officiated countless matches at a time when referees were hard to come by. One of his players said, Dr. Silliker taught many of us the game at a time when rugby wasn't even played in high school. Another player said, I was drawn to the game the first time I saw it played, but it was foreign to me. Alan worked patiently with me and so many of my teammates to teach us the nuances and strategies of the game. I would not have the appreciation of the game I do today if it weren't for the time he dedicated to us. Unfortunately, Alan had a previously planned vacation that he was unable to reschedule, so he couldn't be here tonight. So what I would like to do is ask anyone who played for Dr. Silliker to come up and accept the Hall of Fame plaque on his behalf. Everybody who played with Alan.
No way.
Take the microphone. This isn't gonna work. No, this.
It needs the wide. It's always a wide angle. Wide angle.
He was there a long time.
Yeah, how long did he go?
Very much so.
Get on the chair. For my friend John, he's gonna get on the podium.
Man way back.
Dan, come on. I'm in witness protection, so I. Thank you.
Yeah.
Had to love Al, man.